Welcome back. Today we're going to be making another simple, easy, and cheap project that can sell for good money. And that project is this. It's almost like an entryway kind of storage hanger shelf thing. I don't know what you would call it, but let's quit talking and get to work. Most of my projects would typically start at the miter saw to get everything cut to rough length. However, this project, I'm gonna start at the table saw. I'm gonna rip down these fence pickets into 1 3/4 inch wide strips. On our second picket, we're gonna cut 1 strip, the full length of the picket, to 2.5 inches wide. And now I'm going to use the miter saw to cut 8 of these strips that are 16 inches long. So I have my stopper set here at 16 inches and we'll cut 8 of these strips. On our 2.5 inch wide piece, we're going to cut 3 of them to 12 inches long and 1 of them to 10.5 inches long. And after those cuts, we should be left with a little bit of a scrap piece here of picket. We're gonna cut this to 14 inches long and then take it back over to the table saw and rip it down to 1 inch wide, creating 2 pieces that are 1 inch wide, 14 inches long. Real quick, the last piece that you're gonna need that I forgot to mention earlier is 12 inches long by about 3 inches, 3 1/4 inches wide. That part's not really important, but you do need that last piece that is 12 inches long. Okay, so we have all of our pieces cut. Because these fence pickets are kind of pre-stained and to this color from the factory or the mill whenever you buy them, you should have one edge. Some of the smaller pieces might have 2 edges, but you should have one edge that is kind of that natural color and one edge that is the little bit lighter pine. Again, some of them might be both. That doesn't really matter on most of these. So the shorter pieces and the 1 inch wide pieces, we're gonna set aside for a second. We're gonna lay out all of our 16 inch long pieces like this. You could do this that is just kind of flush and square. However, I think it looks a little better to have some variation in these pieces. And again, that's just me. You can do it however you'd like, but I think it would just look better to have maybe something like that. So kind of get them where you want them, but they do need to be touching each other on the edges. And then these 1 inch pieces should fit flush to the front, to the backs like this right here. So once you get everything lined up, you can put it in and tack it in. You can add glue if you'd like, but I think nails is just fine. The biggest thing to remember here is to make sure you keep them tight to each other. See how that I've just done one side? There's some gaps down here. So whenever I do this side, I will need to push those together to ensure that they stay tight to each other and there's no gaps. So then we'll do the one down here. Now you should have one solid piece, one solid assembly. So the next thing we're gonna do is build almost like a little box. So you're gonna take your 3 12 inch long pieces that all go on the outside. They overlap like this. So we'll get this lined up and tack it in. This in here. And I realize that that joint is not super strong. However, we are going to attach this entire box to the backer board assembly, which will strengthen it up a little bit. We'll do this other side. And then this 10.5 inch long piece should fit between here. And you can put it all the way at the top if you'd like, but I think it would look a little bit better just to kind of have it down, you know, inset a little bit from the top. The next thing we're going to do is to attach this to the backer board like this, and we're going to nail through the back into this shelf piece. So you want to get it lined up, make sure it is straight on the front, kind of situated up and down where you like it, and then hold it in place while we flip it over. and then nail it in. Okay, so now this assembly should look like this. The way this is going to work is this will mount to the wall. This is a shelf for maybe a small knickknack or decoration, maybe a succulent or something. And then we're going to attach this last board like this on the front. And then that will create a little holder shelf, maybe to put your mail in there or something similar, sunglasses. And then we're going to attach some hooks onto this piece. So you can set the assembly aside for now. And I'm just going to use these black kind of coat hooks, and I'm going to install 3 of them on the front of this board. So we're going to put one right in the middle, and then we're going to split the difference and do one on each side. Okay, we know that our board is 12 inches, so we want one at 6 inches right in the middle, and then we want one at 3 and one at 9. And then we'll line these up and get them installed. So the final piece should look like that. And again, you should have a cut side on one and a natural side on the other. I installed these so that the cut side is down so it won't be as visible. That way when we install it on here, everything kind of blends and looks natural. So now the last thing to do is to simply install this on here. And again, I'm just going to line everything up and tack it in place. And here is the finished product. Again, it's kind of an entryway, something you could hang up. I like the fact that this is kind of the rustic finish on the fence picket, so I'm not going to apply any finishing on there. You certainly could if you'd like, but again, I like the way that this looks. So again, this is just kind of like a little shelf. This is just a little compartment where you can put your mail or car keys or whatever it is, and then you could hang a hat or a dog leash or whatever it is on these hooks. You could add a hanger on the back if you'd like, but what I would recommend doing is to pre-drill a pilot hole all the way through this front as well as this backer piece, and then just screw this directly into the wall to ensure that it holds a lot of weight. Because you don't want this loaded up with a bunch of weight and then falling down, of course. So I have seen these sell online. I'm not going to mention the name of the retailers or the people that are making them, but I have personally seen these selling online for over $30. You have a few bucks in 2 different fence pickets and then a pack of the coat hangers, and that's your cost for this project. So it doesn't take a lot of time. It certainly doesn't take a lot of cost of goods or materials, and you can make some money with it. So I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if you do not mind. That would certainly help me out. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.